It is Ray Eason with the Ancient Tree of Life channel. It is currently 7:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on 5/31/2020. So I just kind of want to jump in here and do a live stream. My last live stream that I did kind of had some technical difficulties on it. So I'm hoping this one is a little bit better after I upload the video and everything. But if you're on Instagram right now, you're getting this video and you're getting it live, so it should be fine. Okay, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to put a video out there, and I kind of wanted to go over some of the things that have been happening over the last few days in our country, right, in our communities all around us, right. And I got a couple of notes right here, so if you guys see me sort of looking at my notes, that's pretty much what I'm doing, right? So basically what happened was earlier in the week, there was the death of a man in Minneapolis, right? A black man named George Floyd, which there's a lot of propaganda and a lot of things that are just partially true and not true that are going on. But right after all this happened, I quickly wrote up a blog post called Utopia. That was the thing that was in my mind. And so where that came from was, if you've been watching any of my videos, if you've been following me for any period of time, you know mostly that I do quite a bit of meditation, and I was, back in springtime, I was meditating and I was asking myself, what did I want to spend my energy on, right? What was I living for? What was I spending my spiritual and my personal energy on, right? And just to answer the individual in the chat room right here, this is actually, it's not a Freemasons symbol. This is an ancient African symbol. This is the Eye of Heru in a pyramid in Africa. Masonry came afterwards. It was derived from the ancient Kemetic or the ancient Egyptian practice of stone building, mathematics, and things of that nature. And he just logged off, so he didn't want to hear the truth. And that is a lot of what we'll get, right? So, so basically, right after the George Floyd incident happened, I knew that people would need to heal, right? And it's because I had a dream right before all of this happened. And looking back, I'm like, this dream was actually giving me a bit of insight into what was going on, right? Actually, I just want to make sure that I am on the right channel, which I should be. Hold on, you guys. I should be. Okay. I'm pretty sure that I am. Actually, hold on one moment. I will be right back. Uno momento. Yeah, okay. All right. All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm back, you guys. I just want to make sure I was on the right channel. I got a few different channels, and I wanted to make sure that I'm delivering the right presentation to the right channel, right? So, like I said, what started about earlier in the week, there was a man named George Floyd who died. He was murdered by police officers in Minneapolis, right? And there's some things leading up to that which have led us to believe that it was not just an accident or a haphazard occurrence, but it was actually something that was planned and staged, right? And who the hell would do something like this, right? But this is the world we live in, and it's kind of what this video is about. So I wanted to create a video after all the there was the murder, and then there was the protest and the riots and all the things that happened in Minneapolis, with the rioting and the burning of the police departments and all these crazy things that happened, right? And I knew afterwards people would need to heal, right? And what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a blog post that would essentially capture that time when I was feeling that and what we were going through, and sort of recap on it. But that was caused by a dream that I had. I want to kind of share that dream with you guys. But basically, I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to capture the feelings and the sentiment of that time frame and to create a sort of way for us to heal, to get over this. And it's going to be a long road. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And there's also a few points that I kind of want to go over based on the blog post, right? So right before this happened, I think I found out like on Tuesday, it may have been Tuesday, Wednesday, is when I saw the video post of of George Floyd being held down on the ground by a police officer, and then him basically dying, right, being killed. And I hadn't seen anything like this in a very long time, right? And it was shocking to me, and then all this stuff happened afterwards, right? But right before that, I had a dream. And in the dream, I kind of want to share with you, because I shared with some very close people to me. And my dreams, because I do a lot of esoteric work and I do a lot of spiritual work, a lot of times these dreams are tethered to divine energy, but also feelings that we all have and share here. And that energy is also connected to the upper, and it's relayed. It's kind of like a network. Like, we're all connected, and there's this energy relay network that kind of keeps us all connected. And some of us that are very sensitive can pick up on this stuff, and it's a curse and it's also a blessing, because we get messages, but sometimes those messages drive us a little bit crazy, because it makes us a little bit more emotional, because we're super sensitive, subtle. We have a subtle senses to these things, right? So what happened was, there was a dream that I had, and in this dream, I think the night beforehand, I was reading something on my phone about the Sphinx, or Haramaket, in ancient Kemetic Egypt, right? And which is the Sphinx. And they were talking about how it was the Hall of Records, right? And how there was possibly something stored in the Hall of Records. And we know that the Sphinx, or Haramaket, is at least 10,000 years old, if not older, right? Because there's water erosion around the base of the Sphinx, which means there must have been water in that area, in the Sahara Desert. A lot of water, a lot of like either a rain runoff, or a river, or an ocean, or something where there was constant water erosion, right? And when was the last time that there was water erosion or water in that part of the world? It would have been thousands of years ago, right? So I went to bed, I went to sleep, and then I woke up. In my mind, I was in this, I was in the base of a pyramid, right? I was in the very bottom part of the pyramid. And there was a priest, an evil priest, and he was running through the pyramid, and he was running through kind of like catacombs or whatever, trying to make his way somewhere, right? And as I'm watching him in my dream, I'm watching him with my mind's eye. I'm sensing he's trying to get somewhere, and he's trying to do something. So as I'm watching this guy, he's running, and then he gets to this area where there's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of people praying, right? And there's a huge body, area of water. And all these people are in water. They're praying. They're on their knees. They're praying in the water. And they have their faces down in water, right? Their faces, this part of their face is in the water. And this is a dream for anybody who's just sort of joined in. So in the dream, their faces are down in the water. They're on their hands and their knees, and they're praying, right? And then I see them lift their heads up, and there's bowls of water next to them. And then they put their head down in the bowl of water, and they drink, and then they go back to placing their heads down in the water, and they're praying. And as I'm watching this, I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, not crazy in a bad way, but just sort of, there's all this water at the base of a pyramid, and then their heads they're in water. They've got their face fully submersed in the water, and they're praying, and then they're getting up to drink water out of a bowl. Well, logically, you would think, why wouldn't they just drink the water from what their heads were already in? If you know anything about dreams, you know a lot of these things in dreams are symbolic. Everything in a dream is symbolic of something, right? So the water and I haven't fully analyzed this dream, but the water that they obviously were praying in must have been some sort of other holy water, or must have represented a body of water, or could have represented an occurrence, or the emotion of people. Maybe it was the emotion of people, and their heads were buried in the emotion of the people, right? Or their heads were buried in the body of water, which was the emotion of people. And the stuff that we're going through right now, right? We're all engulfed or enveloped in this large body of emotion, all this stuff that's going on, right? And so then when they popped their heads up and they went back to drinking water from the bowl, The bowl must have represented something more higher, more esoteric, more spiritual, more divine. So looking back, and as I'm discussing this with you guys, I'm thinking maybe what it represented was these people like us were wrapped in this very emotional time frame. But some of us, the ones that are praying, the devout ones, we're popping our heads up out of what's going on. We're looking up out of it instead of being so close in it. Because when you're so close to something, it's very hard to be objective, right? But when you step back from it and you think, you can be a little bit more objective. And this is what I kind of try to teach people, and this is what I've learned myself. And then drinking from the bowl would represent drinking from higher waters, or drinking from the divine waters, or something a little bit more clear to get a clear perspective. But then going back to the highly emotional world that we are currently in, right? Kind of going back and forth. So as I see this priest, he makes his way into this area where all this is happening. There's another priest, another Egyptian priest or ancient Kemetic priest, which is actually chasing or following this evil priest, right? It's like he's trying to get to him. He's trying to stop him from doing something, right? And so I'm watching him chase this other guy. Well, afterwards, I get to a place where there are these sarcophaguses, right? Like the tombs from, or the a sarcophagus from that the ancient Egyptians would use, or even what the Greeks would have used to put a body in, right? I believe they were made of limestone, because they said limestone would make the flesh on the body decompose a bit more, or a bit faster, right? So there were these almost like stone-oriented sarcophaguses, right? And they were lined up. There was a line of them. And somehow this Ray, ended up inside of one of those sarcophagus, and I'd been wrapped up like a mummy, like I'd been mummified, right? But I was still alive. I couldn't move because I'd been completely wrapped up. And so I was laying inside one of these sarcophaguses, right? And then also there was a child or a baby in another sarcophagus, and I could hear the baby, but I couldn't move. I couldn't get up to try to look and see what was going on. Well, at that moment, I see the evil priest. He's standing above me, right? And I'm getting the feeling of he's going to kill me. So he's got this long dagger, right? And he raises it up in the air, and I'm just like, this is it. It's over. He's going to kill me. He's going to stab me. And I saw in my head how they had been stabbing or killing or sacrificing people by stabbing them right in the solar plexus or in the stomach, right? And then this energy, like the solar energy, like the solar chakra energy flowing out. And I remember in the dream, I saw them doing this, and I was like, they're bleeding people of their solar energy. They're actually killing people so that their solar chakra, their solar plexus energy, their chakra energy will flow outward, right? But I didn't understand why. So as this evil priest is holding this dagger up and he's about to plunge it into me, in my head I'm thinking, I can't move. I'm tied up here. He's going to kill me, and I'm waiting for the dagger to come down. But it never does. He just stands there, and it's like how in a moment it just paused, and it never happened, right? And then it was over with. That portion of the dream was over with. I remember hearing the baby crying. I was trying to get to the baby as much as I could, but I was totally restrained and constrained, and I could not get out of the sarcophagus, right? And so after that, the dream changed to another scenario, and I was in I think it was my home from when I was younger, as a child, but it was a little bit different. There was kind of like a jungle around, and we were inside the home, and one of the walls wasn't there, and there was dark outside, and I remember something happened, and then this bamboo, or maybe kind of like bamboo sort of wall came down where the wall wasn't, and it came down. We had said something like drop the gates or close the wall or something like that, right? Because there were invaders coming in, there were attackers coming in. And so the wall dropped. Hold on, I'm going to take a drink. All right. So I said we said drop the wall, right? And so it dropped. And then after that, we turned into like these African warriors, right? We had these stakes, like the very long stakes, or spears that they would have used back then. And we said, raise the gates, right? And so the gates got raised. We ran outside. There were invaders coming at us. And as we rushed them, we yelled and we would chase them, and we chased them out of the clearing that we were in, right? And so we were victorious. So we were sort of happy because we were victorious. And then what I saw in the dream was this woman come from out of the air, and she descended with her hands upward like this, with like it was like in a circular motion. She had this feathered, her arms were up, but they were like a feather, like a bird, right? And she descended downward right in front of us, right? And we all sort of knelt down on the ground on one foot, or on one knee. We put our fist on our chest, and we put our other fist up to the air, right? And we kneeled and we bowed. And in that moment, I felt that it was the presence of Aset, or Isis in the Greek language, or in the Greek tongue. But it was Aset, the great mother, the wife of Asar or Osiris in ancient Egypt, right? And so it was as if she came in to grace us, or to be a symbol of victory for us, right? And so when I woke up from the dream, I was just like, wow, that was a crazy dream. I mean, from seeing the evil priest and the good priest to almost being killed, to being almost attacked by by an oncoming assault, to being victorious, to being graced by the great mother goddess Aset, right? And I told a couple of my friends this. I told one of my best friends, who's my bro, and I told one of my dear person in my life, who's a real good friend of mine that I've known for years, and I love her to death. But I told her about this, and I told both of them, and then I think 24 hours later, this George Floyd thing happened. I lie to you guys not. This has happened to me so many times. And I remember thinking, are the two connected? Because I always question, right? You're never so devout, and you never believe so much that you automatically assume the two met something. Or maybe you do, and I'm just not that old yet, right? I haven't gotten to that point where I'm just like, yes, that's exactly what it means. Because I always work to subdue the ego. I never want to feel that the ego is always in charge, or always controlling or commanding, right? Hold on a second, my lips are chapped. Okay, so I kind of, what I felt in my heart, and what I thought was that the evil priest in the dream was something evil that was happening in this world, right? Something that had happened right around the George Floyd incident in Minneapolis, right? The good priest was the good energy who was chasing the evil priest, trying to stop him, trying to do the right thing, right? Which is probably why I didn't die in the dream, why he didn't kill me, right? I don't know if I was the good priest. I don't know. I'm not assuming that. I'm just logically looking at what it was, and looking at life right now, and the things that have happened, and the role that I feel that I have to play. Maybe that was my higher self seeing the feeling, or the energy, or the symbolism behind what needs to happen and what is happening, and maybe I adopted that role. It's very likely, right? So, and then also with the oncoming war, the people that were attacking us in the dream, and then us attacking them back and being victorious, that I feel is all this commotion, this rioting that's going on, right? And I just kind of want to make note of, a lot of these rioters are not protesters, right? They're not the peaceful protesters. What has happened is, what we've learned is that these rioters are taking advantage of those that were trying to protest what happened. And these rioters are outsiders. They're people that were hired by the BML, or the Black Lives Matter organization, and they're actually being paid to get involved in these communities. They're bussed in from outside of a community to come into a community in order to bring on this rioting destruction. They're either inciting, but they're doing it deliberately. And I'm not saying that there are not people that are following in their suit. I'm not saying that there are local people in that community that are not following in suit of these people that are inciting these riots. Those people are to blame just as much because they're not thinking. They're caught up in the herd mentality, right? But this, when you see this BML and all this stuff, this is an organized assault. It is a political, organized assault against an ideology that is going to hurt particular communities because of this, and mostly the black community, right? It also hurts other communities because other people, compassionate people, are looking at this and they're like, why are you guys doing this? And it's like, it's not just the protesters that live in that community. There's outside people coming in being paid to burn, to loot, to destroy, to cause havoc and chaos. They're being paid cold hard cash. And after you've had this COVID-19 stay-at-home economical shutdown, when you have people who don't have money, think about it, right? Think about it. You offer someone money to go do some things in the name of, let's just say it's anti-Trump, right? Which one of the things that I did not understand, which I understand the anti-Trump sentiment, right? I completely understand. But what I didn't understand was the first day that I saw one of these protests on TV, right? There were a bunch of people, they were standing peacefully, and then all of a sudden things kind of got crazy. That's just how it is. It starts peacefully, and then it got crazy, right? And I started seeing people have anti-Trump, and they're saying things anti-Trump, and I was like, wait a minute. Why are you, if this was about George Floyd being murdered by a police officer, why are you guys yelling anti-Trump sentiment? Shouldn't you be mentioning George Floyd and mourning and trying to talk about, shouldn't it be about Floyd and the murder and the death of him by a police officer instead of all this other outside external stuff, right? And that's what I started thinking. I was like, what is this? What is this really? What's really going on? And then I didn't really think about it, and then other things started happening. I started questioning. I was like, well, my TV is going off and on in the background, you guys. I'm so sorry. It's probably so freaking distracting, right? Let me see if I can turn it off. Sorry about that. But I don't have the remote control. My apologies. If it's annoying... Wait, here it is. Here's my... Let me turn it off. Sorry. Come on, TV. There it is. All right. Sorry about that. So, I started thinking, well, all these riots just started happening all of a sudden, right? Not all of a sudden, they just kind of like they were organized, and they were on the news. Like, I had some friends who were just like, okay, yeah, we saw this on the news, or they were talking about it a couple of days ago, and I was like, this seems awfully organized. And I started questioning, how is this so organized? And then it started happening in other places. Like, we had it here in town in Bakersfield, and then it was happening in Minneapolis, and it started happening in Bakersfield, and next thing you know, it was in Louisiana, and then it was happening in all these other places, and I was like, really? Seriously? Not just in... And it just, all these little pieces came together. In the end, I was like, something smells fishy, you guys. Something does not feel right. It feels organized to such a degree, like it was calculated. And I'll get into this later. That's another video, right? But what I kind of want to let you guys know is that these incidents that are happening are totally being orchestrated by an outside, external organization that is using our hearts. They're pulling at our hearts. They're using the visuals to get to us here mentally. And they're trying to manipulate us with the visuals like they have been manipulating us for so long. You guys who believe that this COVID-19 thing was a ruse, to some degree, you're right. It was used in order to shut down the economies across the world, shut down the economy in the United States so that we would be weak, so that where... we don't have the cash flow. We don't have the money. People are weak, right? That's really what it was used for. That's why you've seen it on the news so much, and the news has just been cranking these stories. And if you've been watching, they've been doing this beforehand. That's what the news does. They put a spin on everything that suits their own needs, right? So that's a little bit of background as far as why this video about Utopia came to be, right? Because I had this dream earlier in the week, and it was a precursor to all this energy that happened, right? And I kind of just wanted to get that out there first. All right. So I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to wave to a couple of people that are in the chat room right now. And I'm going to say hello. Hold on one moment. You guys, sorry about that. All right, bring my little thing back up. Okay. So if anybody's out there and have any questions, you can go ahead and post any questions you might have right now. I know it's Sunday and people are probably busy doing things with their family. And I feel Sunday is a great day for doing a lot of this esoteric work or communicating with people, because it's the day of the self and of the sun, which is actually why I'm wearing the shirt, is because the eye actually represents, the eye of Heru represents the sun, or the all-seeing eye in the sky, which the sun is the physical manifestation of that all-seeing eye, whereas this is a symbol of the eye here that sees, and the eye, which is the sun that sees, right? Okay. All right. So, now, so let's go ahead and talk about Utopia. Let me go ahead and pull up my. Okay. So I'm trying not to recite this verbatim, right? Because I don't like doing that. I like speaking from the heart. Okay. So I created a post. Sorry about that, guys. My calendar is sort of going off. All right. So I created this post called Utopia because, as I said, back in springtime, I did my solar or spring beginning of the year celebration. I blend. If you've been watching the channel for any period of time, you'll realize that I have an interest in ancient Kemetic Egyptian lore and spirituality and religion. I'll use the term spirituality because religion is a little bit taboo. But also I have an affinity for the ancient Sumerian energy, right? Which more so the really old ancient Sumerian energy, not more so the Babylonian energy, yes, but only because the Babylonian energy is more modern and there's more information about the ancient Sumerians. So I do use the Babylonian information that I do know in order to work with this ancient Sumerian energy, right? And the ancient Sumerian energy that I work with is kind of along the lines of the ancient Sumerians. They referred to themselves as the black-headed people, right? And not because of their hair. It was because of their face, right? So they were black. So to me, that means they were of African ancestry, right? So I have a proclivity, because I am African American derived, right? That I can tap into those energy currents and I can pull down information and I can synthesize and intuit that information, right? So I use the ancient Sumerian energy and I pair it with the ancient Kemetic Egyptian energy, and it's a very strong, powerful, resonating cultural framework to work with. So this particular post that I created was called Utopia because during the spring or solar equinox, I did a meditation at the very end of it, right? And I was asking myself, as I stated before, what am I spending my energy on? What am I spending my life on? What am I dedicating myself to? What is it that is important to me? What do I want to do? Who do I want to help? Why do I want to help? What is this energy that I feed and breathe, that I live for? What am I doing with that energy? And the word that came to me was utopia. And I was like, okay, so what does utopia mean? Well, I knew loosely what it meant, but I wanted to find out what it meant for the particular time frame that I was in. And for me, I wanted a utopia that we could all be a part of, right? I work a lot with the ancient energy, but I realize the past is gone. The past is dead, right? So we need to create a new modern day platform that all of us can be a part of and help build, right? Because that's what it's all about. It's all about unity. And so utopia was the idea of a unified ideology that we could all contribute to, that we could all help create or build, right? Everybody brings a piece, kind of like a potluck, right? Everybody brings a piece of this or that to Utopia, and we build a new ancient Kemetic Egypt, or a new America, bridging the two together, right? And that was what my plan or my idea or my goal was. So Utopia, I tried to come up with a sort of what Utopia actually means, kind of like we have USA means United States of America, right? So Utopia, what I defined it as united together people in America, right? So you have the U for united, right? Together, the TO in Utopia, UTO, the T and the O in together. I know that was a stretch, but it still fit, right? I'm very super creative, right? Super creative. Excuse me. So the TO in together is the UTO. The P is people, the I is in, and the A is America. And why America? I'm not excluding the rest of the world. I'm not excluding the rest of the world at all. But America is ground zero, because this is where this happened. This is where all this crazy stuff is happening. And I know there are great evils and heinous acts that are happening all across the world. And I promise we will get there. This utopia will spread to those other places. That is my goal, and my vision and my worldview is to share this with other people, this ideology, so that like pollen in the wind, it'll just pick up, go off, and then be planted somewhere else and grow, right? To put the power or the ideology in someone else's hands, in other people's hands. So Utopia stands for United Together People in America, right? And that's why if you check out the blog post, that's kind of what the title is, right? Utopia, United Together People in America. Help build Utopia. America is ground zero, because this is where this happened. I also heard where somebody was saying, it was in one of the posts that I posted earlier, where the guy was saying America is the last great a place that people can believe in freedom, and where we have freedom of speech and we have freedom of expression, and the rest of the world sort of has these leaders and these laws and these constraints on it, that you don't have the full liberties like we have here. So that's why this is ground zero, which is why we're being attacked the way that we are, which is why we have this organized assault against us. And it's unfortunate that the African American people, the black people, are actually being used as those body shields or those body bags for these people with the agenda to sort of destroy, maim, control, and do other heinous things with, right? So what I want to get to, there's 7 things I want to point on that are also in the blog. So 7 points about Utopia, right? For one, it's not about being black, right? This is not about being black. It may have started with an incident that was racially inclined or racially incited, but that was just the catalyst, right? It's not about being black. It is about being black. It's about being white. It's about being brown. It's about being yellow. It's about being any color, any ethnicity, any race, any diversified cultural framework or background that you come from. It's about unity, which is why Utopia is about the united. That's why the first letter in Utopia is united, because we need to stand together in order to really contend with what's going on. So it's not about being black, right? It's just, it started with that, and that's the cause that they're running with. That's the torch, or the burning flag that they're running with, right? What it is about, it's about a war on the heart, right? All of this is about, it always has been about these factions, these leaders, these organizations, these evil, heinous people who want to control the world. It is about them usurping your heart. It is about them getting into your heart and twisting and turning it. It is about them changing how you think, so that your heart is so out of sorts that you can't look at your neighbor or the person going through something and understand. You don't want to, because of whatever reasons you have gone through in life. mixed in with whatever they're lacing or salting your soul with. So it is a war on the heart. It has always been a war on the heart. Whenever you've had any of these outsiders, any of these warring factions that have come in to a town, that have come into a community, and they've tried to destroy, take, change, eradicate. It's always about controlling your heart and your mind, right? And that leads to it's a spiritual war as well, right? Because your heart is linked to that higher part of you, which is not really tied to the physical. It's more feeling oriented. All of us came to this planet. All of us were born to our parents. All of us wanted to come here from the other side. We all descended from the heavens because we wanted to come here and do something. We probably saw on the other side that this could be a great place, that this could be a beautiful place, that there was beauty here, that there was greatness, that there seemed to be fun here, that there were colors here, that there were all different types of diverse things here. And we all wanted to come here in order to do something or to take part in it. So this is a spiritual war. I've been saying this for years that a spiritual war was coming, because not only do they want to control your heart, they want to control how you feel and believe. Because if they can't control how you feel and believe, then they can't maneuver you into certain aspects of life that they need you to make decisions in based on their behalf, right? You can't have a controlling or a ruling faction controlling or ruling you if you're doing what you want to do, right? It can't happen. They have no pull or sway over you. If you're a happy people, that's the worst thing for them, because you're not going to worry about anything unless it's based in happiness of you, your family, your friends, and the environment around you, like your community, right? So they're always trying to incite or bring in a form of a disdain or heartfelt heaviness that affects your heart, affects your mind, and then your esoteric side, your spirit, is either completely removed because you don't know how to bridge or pair the two, your spiritual side and living here on earth. It's hard to live both ways, right? So it's a spiritual war because they're trying to change how you actually feel on the esoteric side. This part of you that is not here physically but is connected to that other side, they want that to be distorted, right? And that's why they put these visuals in front of you. It's why you have the news and the media, and then you have this hate mantra, and you have all these things always trying to get at you to make a decision about something. It's why we work so hard all the time, and why we're paid so little in order to do the things just to survive, is because it keeps you preoccupied. And when you're preoccupied, you can't think about the important things, right? So I'm just going to wave to Lunar Moon there. So yeah, it's a spiritual war. It's a spiritual war. It's a war on your heart. And it's also not about being black. It's about your heart and your spirit, right? And with that said, this is a war on our idea of utopia. Like I said, the reason why we descended from the heavens, from the other side, why we came here, why we were born, why we chose to come through the poles of our mother and our father, while they were kind of having a passionate time, right? Why we decided that we wanted to be a part of that is because we had an idea that things could be good, right? That things could be great, that we could have a physical heaven from the less denser esoteric heaven side that we came from. We could come to a more physical version of heaven, right? Which would have been earth, right? And then we were born. We're crying and we're whining. The doctor's wiping stuff all off of us and everything, right? Well, after those 9 months, right? And so we came here because we wanted an idea of a physical heaven, a physical utopia, right? And so it's a war against utopia, because like I said, they don't want you happy. They don't want you content, because they cannot control you when you're happy, when you're content, and when you're in love. You don't care about anything else other than being happy, content, and in love, right? It's hard to manipulate someone when their heart is based in love. It's very hard, right? We live in very interesting times. I've been saying this probably for the last month or so now. I remember hearing this in a book, and I can't remember what book, and I'm so sorry that I'm so literary ignorant right now, but we do live in interesting times. I believe it was Charles Dickens said that we live in the best of times, and we also live in the worst of times. And we do. We're on the precipice of total goodness, and that bridge to heaven in the heavens and the ethereal is there. But then we also live in this other time where we have to fight vehemently for that bridge to be totally connected so that we can get from the physical and step onto the esoteric, so that it's a very fluidic exchange of interaction between physical earth and heaven. And that's another thing they don't want. They don't want that at all, because then you're happy. Once you're connected to the upper divine, you don't need them, right? So we live in interesting times. Number 6, utopia must be born. We have to help make utopia a reality. We have to help utopia be born into this world, where we came through our mother and our father having intercourse and being emotional with one another and it being a physical act. Utopia does not have that. It's not going to be a person. It's going to be people. It's going to be a diverse group of people. So this is a birth that must happen on a higher level. We must infuse it with our hearts. We must infuse it with our minds, with our spirit, with our passion. We all are going to give birth to the child, which is utopia, right? We all have to be a part of that passion that helps to bring utopia into existence, right? And that is what this is all about. That's why utopia is called United Together People in America. But it's not just about America, as I said before. It's just, this is ground zero. This is where the hell is breaking out. This is the grassroots effort, right? So that's number 6. Utopia must be born. So I'm going to recap on this. Number 1, it's not about being black. It's not at all. It's about being black, white, yellow, brown, and I'm not going to use green because I hate when people say that. It's like green. Okay, no. We have black people. We have white people. We have brown people. We have yellow people. We have people with various different variations of skin tone and color, right? Green, not so much. Not so much, right? Okay. 2, it is a war of the heart. They are trying to control our hearts. They are trying to control our minds. And if you follow the ancient ways, you know that the heart and the mind are connected. It's where the ancient Cometics got the idea of the scales, and you have the heart and the feather, right, on the scale, and they must balance, right? The heart is the heart here. The feather is representative of wind, which is also the mind. So the mind must not be heavier than the heart, but the heart, even though it could be a very physical, material thing, needs to be balanced with the heart, with the mind, right? The two must work together, and that's where you get the ideology of the scales with the heart and the feather, right? 2, this is a war of the heart. 3, this is a spiritual war. It's about each and every one of our spirits and our ability to do greatness, to be more, to do more, to conjure more, to unite our differences and become one. Right? It's they don't want that. They don't want unity because they want to be the ones that are united, controlling us lesser beings or people, right? So it is a spiritual war, which is number 3. Number 4, it is a war against utopia. It is a war against the ideology of a perfect world or a perfect community, a perfect way to live. That whole ideology behind the Garden of Eden, right? It is that ideology about a perfect time frame. And granted, things will never be perfect, but we can always work towards perfecting things, even when there are challenges, even when there are differences, even when there is hardship. As long as there is a group of us, as long as there's one person, but it helps when there's a group of people working on a problem with the mind and the heart, right? We will always iron out those problems and keep our foot one step forward, working towards utopia. 5, we live in interesting times, and that goes either way. Interesting bad, interesting good, right? We live in a time of love and order, and we also live in a time of chaos and evil, right? And right now it seems like it's right here, even though evil seems like it's a little bit more up here, and good is so hard to see right now, but it's why they're pushing so hard to divide us, you guys. That's exactly why. They see it and they're like, if we don't push now, if we don't divide everybody, including people all across the world, there are too many of them. They know that there's too many of us. And if we all put our minds and our hearts together, it's the end game for them. It is the very idea of judgment that they have believed in for so many centuries, right? And they don't want that. They don't want that at all. Number 6, utopia must be born. It's not an option, you guys. It's not an option at all. If we don't do this, this world is going to turn into something very nasty very quick. If you have kids, if you have grandkids, if you have nieces, if you have nephews, if you have friends that you love, you have family members, if you have animals, right? In the future, if we do not create this idea of utopia, if we don't create a better world, the world is going to be nasty. The world is going to be ruled and conquered by people who do not care about your liberties. They do not care about humanities. All they care about is being in control. And once they've got that hook, game is over, you guys. It is in game. It is over with. You know how hard it is to change things in life right now, unless you really, really, really need it or want it? It's not even going to be that easy. We've got to change things right now. If not, and last but not least, this is number 7. It is a political war. When I first wrote this, I said that it wasn't a political war because it was the first few days of George Floyd being murdered. And I had not seen all the repercussions and the ramifications and the political agenda and the manipulation. I had not seen it. But then days afterwards, I saw that this was an organized assault. It was an organized assault on all of us, right? And so it is. It's a political war. I know a lot of people do not like Trump. A lot of people don't like Republicans. Being black, being brought up, I was told Democrats were the people that we vote for because they're pro-poor people. It's not true, you guys. It's not true. It's not that I'm pro-Republicans. I am pro-business, which means the ability for a person to go from nothing to something. In a nutshell, to me, that's what the idea of free enterprise and what the idea of living in America is. For someone to be free, to not have to worry about being scared of having a darker skin color, for a person loving someone that's a different skin color, or a different, or of the same sex, or whatever, right? You should be able to be free to express your heart however you want to. You should be able to be free to express how you think however you want to. You should be able to say whatever you want to say however you want to, without slandering others, right? Because that's a whole other different situation, right? But you should be free to be free, period. Right? Period. So this is a political war. It is a war against our humanities. It is a war against our ability to be free, our ability to be governed as free people, and our ability to have safe, comfortable, and meaningful lives, right? We should be able to have choice, right? We should be able to have choice. So I kind of want to leave it with that. Basically, like I said, utopia is about united together people in America, right? All of us standing together. And this is not just about America. It's something that I hope to help see happen all across the world in different areas of the world, right? I really want to see that. So if you're watching this, right, I would hope that you would help us stand united. Help stand with us. Help us give birth to this idea of utopia, right? Because in the beginning, it is an idea. It is a seedling, something that can do nothing on its own, right? It can't do anything other than either live or die. It can do nothing else. It can't even feed itself, right? If you would be bold enough to have an idea, to have a want, to want something more than you currently have, to want a life more than you currently have, to want to see happiness in your neighbor's heart, because if your neighbor is happy, that neighbor, I guarantee you, is going to want you to be happy too, because they're going to be appreciative that you cared enough about them to make sure they were okay. And that's some powerful ass shit, you guys. Bar none. Care about somebody else and they will care about you 10 to 100 times over. You do that enough times, you'll never have to worry about love, not having friends, not having companionship, not having anything to do. And that's another thing that that there is a war on. There is a war on unity, right? There is a war on us being unified and relying on one another, relying on ourselves, and then relying on our brothers and our sisters, our neighbors, right? The people down the street, the people at the store, right? They don't want us needing them, because then why the hell do we need them, right? Why do we need these leaders if we can rely on ourselves and rely on the people that are around us who live with us each and every day? Think about that. You live with your neighbors, you live with your friends, you live with all these people around you. They see what you do, they see how you are, they love you for who you are. These politicians, they don't see you, they don't know you, they don't know who you are, they don't care either. And that's the problem. They don't see you, they don't know you. Therefore, how can they care? I'm gonna wrap this up with this. Before this year, I was not a political person at all. I never voted. I never got involved in politics because to me, I just saw it as the game. It was a game, right? Every 8 years, you'd have a Democrat. Every other 8 years, you'd have a Republican. And it would go back and forth. And it didn't matter what happened, right? It would go back and forth regardless. But things have changed. And I want to say that just because we've had really heinous Republican leaders in the office, like George Bush. George Bush was horrible. Horrible. Went into another country and started a war just for oil. Family business. Evil, right? His father, oil tycoon, right? Head of the CIA. Those guys have different agendas than when we get up and we go to work, or when we go to make lunch or make dinner or make breakfast for our family or for ourselves. They don't know us. Totally different agenda, right? Some Democrats have been good, right? But as we get closer to future's end, those other people on the left, they're getting evil and wicked. They're perfect example, like Joe Biden coming out and telling a black person and millions of black people to their face, you're not black. That's some ballsy ass shit if you ask me. How are you going to tell someone who has suffered in a particular skin suit, right, that they're not a particular person or thing because they're not doing what you want them to do? That's some, as my sister would say, that's some ratchety ass shit if you ask me. Totally ratchety for days, right? It is. But it was a move, and they're showing their true colors a little bit more now than before. So what I want to do is I want to help people see through the illusion. You don't have to always vote Republican or always vote Democrat, right? But what you need to be able to see is when you have that particular candidate in front, you need to be able to look at them on the screen and see through them. And if you feel that there's just something not right about that person, not just because you don't like them because they're a particular party or whatnot, but if you're just like, the words coming out of your mouth, I don't know. You need to be able to look at them, get a feeling or a vibe, and then research. Learn what that person is about. Learn what that party is about. Learn what that organization is about. Learn what they've done. Have they done good things? Have they done bad things? If the news is saying something extremely bad about them, is it true? Because we know the news will fucking lie, just like Hollywood will make a movie that is totally based in science fiction and write it off as real because they made millions of dollars or billions of dollars, right? You need to be able to look at a person. And this is where, like I said, it's a spiritual war. You need to be able to use your heart and your mind and your psychic eye and your connection in order to discern the vibration of truth. And that is totally what spirituality is all about. That's a part of it, is being able to discern. And from there, you can work all other types of magic you want to, right? So, you guys, I want to say thanks for watching. This is Ray Eason with the Ancient Tree of Life channel. I'm not saying Ray Ea yet because I'm actually thinking of changing my naming clamatier and title to something else more ancient Kemetic or ancient Egyptian, right? Because I need to dedicate myself to something that means something. So I need to sacrifice a portion of myself that I have become used to for a moment so that I can help myself and help you and help the world usher in this idea of utopia, right? So I'm actually thinking about going along with the name of Amen, which is the god of the hidden. It's reminiscent of the ancient Egyptian god Amen, Amun, or Amun, which means the hidden. When you add Ra or Ray onto it, it means light. So the hidden light. And my name is Ray. So Amun Ray or Amun Ra or Amen Ray or Amun Ra. I've got a bit of information, Lunar Moon, about ancient Kemet and ancient Africa. If you hit me up after this, go ahead and message me. I can direct you in some places. Also, look at the videos that I have here. Click on, when you go to Instagram, click on the stories tab, and there's some videos there, and also on the YouTube channel. But yeah, there's a lot. I love this stuff, and I've made it very modern based because I've had to recreate it. There's only a few books that I have that are based in this stuff, and a lot of this stuff has been recreated. I've had to start from scratch and pull down information. I've had to receive it, right, in order to interpret it for modern day working again. So yeah, I'd be more than willing and more than happy to help you get started or help point you in the right direction, right? But thank you for asking. I appreciate that. You touched my heart. Hey there. Long time no see. All right, you are very, very welcome. No, thank you for being here. You've been here for a moment, so I really appreciate that. So we're coming up on about an hour here. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment below. Go ahead and ask them questions, and I would love to answer them. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Once again, like I said, you touched my heart. If you have, hey there. If you have any questions, just let me know. Oh, okay. So, question: what brought me on this journey? There's a quick answer and there's a long one, right? Let's see if I can get with the quick one. And then I'll answer the long one. The quick one is I've always been a spiritual person, right? When I was younger, I was born Christian. I was born African Methodist. And I always believed in God or in a higher something, right? I was a sensitive, emotional kid. I was in church. I was in choir. Loved to sing, right? And so my grandma was in the church. And I love the people that were there. I remember getting dressed up as a little kid and have my little white gloves on, my little suit and everything, because I love to get dressed up, right? And I was an usher in church, and I just remember loving the feeling of being a part of something and helping people, right? But then as I got older, right around 13, I'd been praying for a little sister, right? Because it was just me and my mom. I was praying for a little sister, right? And I got a little sister. And my grandma had only wanted my mom to have one more kid, right? She was like, she just wanted to see my mom have one more kid, right? And when my little sister was born, my grandma fell and she went to the hospital. And my grandma never came out. That changed me. It changed me on a level I was not expecting. I died a little bit inside because I really love my grandma. I loved my sister. I love my sister, and I prayed for my sister. And I think with all that, I felt like maybe there was a couple of things that was going on. One, I asked God for a little sister, and I got a little sister, and then my grandma got taken. I see my grandma in my little sister, so I know that the energy does transfer. I just, yeah, I definitely see it. But then I also realized at 13 that the things that I've been told about religion and God and spirituality and all that stuff was wrong. They had no fucking clue what they were talking about. None. The adults of this world, and it's a totally different video. It's a totally different video. But the adults of this world were wrong. They were just creating stories out of their asses just to fill the space, just to fill time. And I remember being younger, and I remember because I used to live in LA, And there's huge buildings in LA, right? Skyscrapers, right? I remember driving around with my mom and looking up and just being like, oh my God, all these buildings and all this stuff, and adults have just got it figured out. They've just figured it out. Kind of like I said in the beginning. You feel like this is the new utopia when you came here, right? You feel like this was the new heaven, right? And then you realize things are not that way. That there's hardship and there's injustice, and things are not balanced, and there's hardship and poverty and prejudice and racism, and there's love also, there's friendships, there's all this stuff mixed in there, right? And I realized as I got older and I started doing a lot of self introspection, and what happened was when I was 18, somebody introduced me to a type of business, right? And so I was like, oh my God, this is the answer to everybody's problem. Everybody's working hard. Everybody hates life. Everybody's working all the time, which is why they hate life. Money is the problem, and I have found the answer, right? I have found the answer, and I'm going to set everybody free. And so then I realized not everybody wanted to be free. Not everybody wanted that way of life that I have found. Nobody wanted any of it, and I was crushed. I was crushed by the truth, right? Second time I was crushed by the truth. The first, my grandma died. The second, when I realized people were content with living in misery and toiling in work. Totally crushed, right? And so I kept going inside, and I kept investigating in this business, these businesses that I were in throughout the years. I didn't make a dime. I didn't make any money. But I read books on positive affirmations. I read books on positivity and how to think. And those ideas were precursors to these spiritual ideas. And looking back, those positive ideas, those self-affirmations, were the same thing. They were the spiritual affirmations. It was positive, forward-thinking speaking, right? But just without all the extra esoteric stuff, but more so just to make money. And as I got older, I realized, yes, I want to make money, but I also want to be happy. I also want to have friends. I also want to have a family. I also want to be loved, and I want to love myself, right? And that's, oh, thank you very much, Lunar Moon. Yeah, thank you. Afterwards, I realized my grandma, even though she passed on, I could still connect with her. This one time when I was younger, I was with my girlfriend. Our power had just went out because we couldn't pay the bills because we were young, right? And I had a candle. I went in the bedroom and I lit it. I was having issues with my mom, and I asked my grandma, I was like, can you just help me? Tell me, why am I having this issue with my mom? And I heard something in my head saying something like, well, that's just how your fast-ass mama is. And I was like, huh? What? So then I went back and told my mom, okay, so we got 28 seconds, you guys. So I went back and told my mom, this is what I heard. And my mom said, that's exactly what she would have said. That's when I knew. So thanks for watching, you guys. You guys are awesome. Remember to like my YouTube page. Check out the Instagram channel. Also my Facebook page. My name is Ray Eason. Look me up. If you have any questions, drop a comment, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you. Peace out and Utopia.